Welcome back, everybody. Episode 3 of season 2 of Kinky Politics, and I am Chris, and Kai will.
Hello.
Today, we are going to be talking about a fun topic, nothing too serious today. We're going to be talking about how during coronavirus, it is crazy how much so many of us have had to give up, and professional athletes can't seem to give up prostitutes and strippers. So, since I follow sports a lot more than Kai does, I will start.
That's not a sexist thing, by the way. It just so happens that
Yeah.
I do follow sports, but not like Chris. And so it's only fair that he leads this conversation. So please.
Yeah, I want to make sure I provide the context for you so you can chime in. When COVID started, the first leagues to start back up were soccer leagues over in Europe. It's really controversial at the time, like especially because Europe's been handling this different than the United States. Like the United States would be like, yeah, go fine, go play. But in Europe, they were like taking COVID really serious. So people were like outraged, like, what is this? We're having to give up everything. And these athletes are getting to, go back to living their lives and working and all that. A week or two in, first athlete gets popped, hire some prostitutes because prostitution is, I think, legal in a lot of Europe. I'm not sure. I think it is for some reason.
Lots of places in Europe.
Yeah,
yes.
so they have some escorts come over, like a famous footballer. That's what they call it, soccer players over there, footballers. Has him and his teammates like have a party, invite like 20 escorts over, like. And these are leaking out to the press. Like the press is reporting on this, and people are obviously pissed off. Like, what the like? Why are they not getting in? Because they have pretty strict laws over there too, where it's like, I think if you violate these protocols, it's like maybe possible jail time or like these serious fines. And then the professional sports teams are just releasing these statements like, well, we frown upon this behavior and we've spoken to the player about it. And it's like, yeah, so you did nothing. You're just letting this dude like openly flout the law. And, so then fast forward to the NBA when they start their bubble. One of the rules the NBA had was only the players. And they didn't even let the wives and the kids in at first. It was just the players, team personnel only. Well, then you start having multiple players get in trouble for sneaking in girls from outside. What were they sneaking these girls into their hotel for? Who knows? Why the wives and kids are away? Who knows? So then the NBA comes up with this good idea of like, okay, we'll bring the wives and kids in. That'll stop that'll stop this stuff going on with these side pieces. So they bring the wives and kids in. It goes good. The NBA season ends. They're about to start off this new season. And then you have players like getting popped at strip clubs. Like, I don't know what these guys are thinking either. They're at the strip club, taking pictures of themselves at the strip club, posting shit on Instagram, and then acting all shocked. Like when 3 hours later, people start sharing it like crazy and they try taking it down, like, and then they get fined. Or one guy, he was second year in the NFL. Last year was a number 5 or 6 pick in the draft, quarterback. And you know how important quarterbacks are in the NFL. Like,
of course,
it's a big deal. This dude, after like within 3 hours of losing a game, he's taking pictures posting on Instagram of him in a strip club. They just released his ass at the end of the season. Actually, they didn't even wait till the end of the season. They benched him, and then 2 games later released him.
And it's how old is he?
22.
Okay, well then that's why.
Something like that. Yeah, but I was just like, man, but yeah, the thing, I don't know, it's just crazy. Like, it's like, and I'm not a famous athlete. I haven't lived that life. I haven't had strippers and prostitutes just following up in my lap like a normal lifestyle. I don't know how hard it is to give that up, but it seems like.
Well, I think most of it. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you hadn't finished. Go ahead. What did you say?
I was just gonna say, like with everything everybody's given up, you would at least hope they could give it up or be slick enough not to get caught. Like, I don't know, figure something out. Like, stop letting us see this stuff. It makes it look bad.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard about this. Kirk had told me about it while it was happening. So I'm abreast with this.
Well, in Australia, you guys have are rugby players like superstars like that? In Australia?
In Australia, there aren't really superstars.
Okay.
It's a culture where they're not that type of idolization is frowned upon, basically. And it's not something that's like openly discussed that they frown upon it. They just don't like. I think it kind of goes with their whole tall poppy syndrome,
Yeah.
which is like everybody's the same, everyone's equal, you're not better than anyone type of thing, even if
Unless you're a
you
brown
are.
person.
Huh?
Unless you're a brown person.
Exactly. But more on that later. So anyway, so I had known a little bit about this, but I think in large part the reason that they keep getting caught and it keeps happening is because, and why they keep taking risks is because of power. They have so much power. And so they're like, well, what are they going to do? Drop me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they've got so much money. They're so talented. And so, I mean, we've seen it, right? Like people are treated differently if you have more money, even with respect to shit happening in COVID. Like, as an example, when Nicole Kidman had come back to Australia to film a project in which she was enlisting so many Australians and giving them work. So it was really helpful to the economy.
Yeah.
What the Australian government decided to do is excuse me, sorry about that, is to let her and her family not allow her and her family to be on their private estate, and they didn't have to go through the mandatory hotel quarantine that every other person has to go through.
Huh.
And this was wild because they're such a country where they're like, no, everybody's the same, everybody has the same rules. And so like shit hit the fan in a big way when people saw Nicole Kidman get off her get off her plane and be escorted with her kids and her husband to a limousine and be taken to her house.
What?
Where they could quarantine for 2 weeks, wow. So when you've got money like that, you've got power like that. Yeah. And when you got power like that,
you abuse it.
Yeah, like you can do anything, so I really think that 22-year-old, for example, that you're talking about, did not really think that there was going to be serious consequences.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, to what he was doing. I think he would be like, fuck it. I'm just going to get a slap on the wrist. I'm sure like if this picture gets out, it's not going to be that big of a deal. You know what I mean? But let's enjoy it. Like, it's my life. I just got, you know what I mean? I can imagine that whole scenario.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me that they were trying to make an example out of him for everyone else. And they certainly made an example out of him. Yeah. But that brings up another really interesting point for me, which is like, wow, like men really need prostitutes or men really need sex in order to, I really appreciate your expression. It's great. Wow. Everyone take a look at Chris's expression right now. I'm going to hold. It's adorable. I love it. Now we do, right? We do know that biologically, or at least we do know to some degree that men seem to be driven by, in a lot of cases, sex. And with women, it might be something else. What that something else is, I'm not entirely too sure. So I don't want to, blanket every woman at the moment. But I might say that generally it might have to do with survival, honestly, at a basic sort of rudimentary level.
I want to test this theory on how sex-driven women are when Idris Elba or Jason Momoa walks in a room.
Yeah.
Suddenly,
we're not going to talk about that.
Things get a little sex-driven then.
Yeah, not going to talk about that because that's definitely a different conversation. Definitely. But you would think that these athletes
Yeah.
for a fucking season can just keep it together and be like, you know what? This is a life-threatening sickness, disease here. I'm not going to do this. But clearly, obviously they need it, right? So
It's like they're millionaires. You have anything in the world you want to do to entertain yourself but sex available to you. Like literally anything you want to do. If you were to tell me, hey, you can do anything but have sex for the next couple months, I'd be like, that's cool. I mean, there's at least porn. You can take care of it. Like, I mean, you could probably build like your own go-kart racing cart in your backyard if you wanted to. Like these dudes have insane amounts of money. We can't even imagine like the options. And it's
and
like,
maybe that's it. Maybe they were like, I
strip club
am
though. Like
what?
they want to go to the strip club. I don't know. I don't understand strip club. I mean, I obviously I understand like attractive women. Yes, that's fun, but I don't understand the appeal of giving somebody your money that you're not going to have sex with. Like,
I've never understood that either. And I have never understood that. I also don't care for strip clubs.
yeah, I've been
Funny, fun
twice, and
fact.
twice was more than enough for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I kind of feel that the strip club, not to derail, but I feel like the strip club is for um it's like a hangout for men who want to be around other men.
Mm,
And it's kind of like this like misogynistic, I hate to use that word, but that sort of misogynistic place where they see other dudes who seem to be like A types and alpha males,
yeah,
and there's a whole bunch of naked women, walking around. It's kind of like, it reminds me of like modern day like Rome times,
yeah,
like
yeah,
Roman times, that time where like just, sluts and emperors and peasants and everyone was just kind of like all over the place and people were just having sex in the middle of the street and stuff like that.
yeah,
So strip club kind of reminds me of like a low grade version of that.
yeah,
It's just a bunch of dudes who are like, oh, we're at the strip club, let's eat a bunch of chips and watch, you know bitches shake their tits. Yeah, you know. But look, I'm not an expert on that shit.
no,
Going back to your to what we were talking about with basketball player with these athletes not being able to be without it, it seems.
yeah,
Um, you know, when I looked at the stats, it looked like they performed pretty well. Those during the season where they had to basically be in the bubble.
yeah, yes. That's they did good.
Yeah, which is really interesting because they had to be celibate, right? Most of them.
Yeah, theoretically,
And, huh?
I said theoretically, at least until the
Yeah, theoretically. And I think most of them were.
yeah,
Um, which brings me to this other thing, where, the guy who invented Kellogg's cornflakes,
hmm
he believed in abstaining and said that it was high, like the more you abstain the more creative you'd become. So he thought that food should be plain and without like colors or sugars or lots of salts
hmm
so that you weren't stimulated. And he also did like, and that's why he came up with cornflakes.
hmm,
It's really weird. He also like did like experiments where he like stuck things and men and women's private parts to stop them from having orgasms or things like that. Yeah, there's a lot to it. He was a scientist basically, or some kind of a scientist, and so he believed that ejaculation and intercourse, all of that, stopped or stifled creativity. And so as a result, he thought like the less stimulus we have, um, the better.
I think that is crazy because
Well, I
linked.
think there might be some kind of correlation because they seem to do really well. These guys seem to do really well without having sex. And I gotta say, I don't know.
Yeah. I also think that there is some evidence that the lengths to which men will go creativity wise to lie their way into sex makes me think that sex itself can possibly increase creativity in some people. Everybody's different.
I agree. I agree with that. But you know, but they're wanting it. They don't have it, right? So they're super creative.
Yeah.
You're basically validating the point at the moment.
Yeah. I got that. I don't think that could be true. The more they're without, the more they haven't had it, the more creative they're going to get it. Like,
you know,
get
they're
it.
more who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Honestly, who knows? I don't know if that theory is like legitimized, or if other people have tested that out. But I have had, he's not the first person who has come up with that.
Yeah.
I've heard this before from several different theorists and scientists and things like that. And I've always wondered about it
It's kind of
because
similar to like theologians, right? Like
uh-huh,
years have kind of like said like somehow
yeah.
like interferes with your being able to connect with God type thing.
Yeah. And which I find kind of weird actually, to be honest. But it is sort of similar, sort of similar um to theologians. I mean, like, look at priests, and nuns. I mean, they I don't well, yeah, I mean, that's the what they're doing is making sure that they're always, consistently connected to God and have this Christ-like walk, which somehow means abstaining, but it also, I guess, in large part means to to give yourself entirely to a cause. And
Mm.
I think that a lot of people do that. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Ludwig von Mises,
Mm.
the economist.
No.
He's an I believe he's Austrian,
Mm.
um, and amazing philosopher, but he devoted his life to economics, and he wrote he wrote some kind of a letter to his wife, and he had a wife, but they didn't have time for that shit,
I guess she
you
was.
know. Hmm?
I wonder how happy she was. I'd like to hear her side of that story, but
I don't know, but you're right in that people who are really devoted to their cause in a really large way, in a like blind way, seem to just kind of give over to that thing without and have seemed to have no care about having it, which is, I don't know, it just seems so human to have sex, it seems so rudimentary to have sex. It also doesn't even seem human. It seems it seems animalistic, it seems primal, it seems sort of like cyclical, part of the whole life process. So
it's only primal if you're doing it right.
all right, Chris. All right.
It,
That's enough.
I do have one serious question for you though. Since you have a little bit of experience in like the entertainment industry, um, in entertainment, especially like when they film movies or TV shows, well, maybe TV shows to some capacity, but um, they're also in situations where they're kind of in a bubble of sorts, sometimes for 3 or 4 months away from their people, their family, their lives, depending on like what they're filming. Is that kind of thing common with them as well? Of like uh,
Stuff.
getting prostitutes or like escorts or when they're away filming, or are they focused on the craft and that's not really a common thing you hear about with actors?
Um, you don't really hear about it. I'm sure it happens. I mean, Hugh Grant, Colin Farrell. Did you hear about all those?
I've seen Colin Farrell and I remember the Hugh Grant thing.
Yeah. So it's like it's obvious, that kind of thing is frowned upon, but I don't think it's really looked at because no one says they can't.
Yeah.
In this case, like, they were told they cannot have anyone, or they cannot go outside of this bubble. The athletes were told that this isn't allowed.
Yeah.
With actors, that's not really the case.
True.
But, many times, I mean, look at who is it? Yeah, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're gonna get it they got it from somewhere. They fell in love on set. Lots of actors fall in love on set.
Oh yeah.
My one of my closest girlfriends, Grace, she married her co-star after a year.
Oh wow.
You don't know? You didn't know? Boo Boo Kitty, she married her co-star.
Which one?
The eldest son of
Kind of jacked up one? Muscular one? Oh, okay.
Mhm,
Good for
mhm.
you. That dude's
Yeah.
physique was, if I remember correctly, he had some kind of shower scene or something with his wife on screen. And I was like, that dude fucking works out. Not a lot of body fat in that guy.
Yeah. Grace did well. She
Yeah.
did well.
Like a Greek.
Um, but yeah, I think this is a really interesting thing, because it's like, it's very clear that these athletes were kind of caught with their pants down, literally.
Mhm.
And it begs the question of, like, why can't they survive without it? Like, what's the problem? Why do they need, why does it seem like a must have? Like, why can't they be abstinent?
Mhm.
And it isn't as if it's going to affect performance negatively, because we realize that it doesn't necessarily affect performance negatively.
No.
In fact, there have been theories to suggest that it actually is fine, absolutely fine, to be without it and to perform really well.
Yeah, a lot of boxers don't do it as part of their training. Like they don't have sex during training.
What?
A lot of boxers throughout history, a lot of boxers, part of their training was you don't have sex once training starts.
Yeah, you see, so I don't, obviously I don't have a lot of like, formal. I haven't studied this, so
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. Huh?
We are not psychologists.
No, but I do think it's an interesting topic, and I do think it's worth consideration, because we're somehow, it's really looked really positively when women abstain.
Mhm.
But it's not really considered very positive if men abstain. And obviously there's sexism there.
Yeah.
But
It is true.
no one talked. Huh?
Fucked up. Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said it's true, and it's so fucked up because it doesn't make any sense. Because if guys are supposed to be out there just smashing, right, just plowing through women, right, but no girl's supposed to be having sex, who are these guys supposed to be having sex with? Like, it just creates like this dynamic that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's impossible for both people to achieve what they're told to achieve. Like, it's impossible because men have to be having sex with women, and women aren't supposed to be having sex with men. And it's like you're telling two people.
We're definitely assuming that most men want to have sex with women.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And but I mean, as we've seen in lots of cultures, and even way back then, and even our culture, a lot of men, like in jail, a lot of men don't, as an example, a lot of men don't consider having sex with a man, if they don't receive it, as a homosexual act or as even sex. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just, so, they might be out there having sex with each other for all I know. I watched this documentary. I don't know if you've heard of this, but everybody should freaking watch this, because it's nuts. And then I think we should end this conversation, because I feel like it's gone on too long. Have you ever heard of the Menendez brothers?
Yeah. Killed their parents.
Okay, so you know about, huh?
Killed their parents?
Yes.
Yeah.
The two boys from California who killed their parents, from Beverly Hills, who killed their parents.
Yeah.
Did you hear their story about how they were molested?
Yeah, it sounds vaguely familiar. I couldn't remember the ins and outs of it, but I remember who they were.
Well, they literally blew their parents' heads off, and said said it was an intruder, and then it came to pass that they were the ones guilty of this. And then what ended up happening was it was revealed that for years their father had been having intercourse with them from like age 6 to like 18 for the youngest one, regularly, and convinced his children while growing up, like, this is love and this means you're a part of our family. And this happened during Roman times and biblical it happened for many years, and it happens all over the world, and people do this, and it's not anything bad, it just means we're a family type shit. And it's crazy that a father can do that to his kids. That's one thing. But it's crazy that the father also seemed to think that it wasn't bad, like, or like it wasn't sex, or it wasn't like he did say it was sex, but it was like it didn't have the same meaning. It was almost like he wasn't a dirty person, or he wasn't having sex with someone, namely his children.
How do we know what the dad thought? I thought he got killed.
Because the kids, the two boys, were able to articulate how they could go along with this shit.
Oh, okay.
And it was based on what the father was telling them.
Sounds like dad was molested himself.
It sounds like it. It also sounds like he's sadistic and a tortured man. People, I don't know.
Crazy.
But what was also sort of like frightening was that the family members knew about it.
Oh, what do you mean family members? Just the mom or other people?
The mom knew, and the mom was also kind of a part of it. She would sort of like make the older one touch her for a period of years. Like, it was really bizarre, this family dynamic, but she was aware of it. And then the father's sister knew about it. Their cousins knew about it, and testified in court about this shit. Like, it was really unbelievable.
Yeah, that's some sick stuff.
Yeah, it was really unbelievable. So, but I bring that up because it's interesting to hear. And these were like, these are like, these kids, they're athletes, and their father was a big time athlete. And I find it interesting that they have this kind of like alpha sense about them.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the father was like a serious like homosexual, like homosexuals are disgusting, they're the pit of the, like, all this shit.
Yeah.
And he didn't think that what he was doing was really sex. He just thought it was like he knew it was sex, but it was like it didn't have the same meaning.
Okay.
So on that note,
I'm gonna try that pickup line at a bar sometime. It's not sex. Don't think of it as sex. This is deeper. This is more important. This means you're cared for. Sorry, I don't mean to trivialize like such a horrific thing, but yeah, wow. Sorry. Continue with the outro.
Oh yeah. So anyway, this has been great, and we will see you guys next week, same time, and hopefully a lighter topic. Bye.
Bye.
not my new black.